You're right, I'm YorkshireASMR, and welcome to a video about a board game. This game is Inish. I don't know what this word means, but I can take from this that it's about Celtic legends. And, I mean, it's kind of obvious reading it, but the legends do go quite a lot within the game. Christian Martinez is the designer, and here, I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but Jim Fitzpatrick did the board game cover and the card art. Someone else did the territory art, which we'll see later, but this magnificent fellow here is by Jim. Oh, before I should start, I guess I should mention I do have a helper on this side of the road table. Inish is a game of Celtic legends. I'll read you a little preamble to set the mood. Inish takes place during the height of the ancient Celts. My kitty just sighed up in his tower. When history and legend are one and the same. Players are chieftains, leading their clans beyond the seas from Ireland to a newly discovered island. They settle the land, explore the surrounding area, harvest resources from the mines, and construct citadels and sanctuaries for their protection. Bards recount the tales of their gods and heroes. Druids act as advisors, and master craftsmen immortalize Celtic civilization. Each chieftain believes to have the most legitimate claim to the throne of this new island. Only time will tell who among them will ascend to become Ahadri, the High King or Queen of this new realm. In its essence, Inish is a game of territory control and card management, as there is a mechanic where you draft cards each round, I guess is the best way of explaining it. There's a plaster on my finger, on my thumb. It's very loose. Quite annoying because it keeps slipping off. So, I'm just gonna take a few pieces out. So these are territories. Here you can see the very intricate Celtic designs, but they flip over to reveal these beautiful vistas. Here we have the Highlands, and here we have the Misty Lands. And the game has this very interestingly designed exteriors, but they slot together like jigsaw pieces. And then if I get a third one, we can see here's the forest. It could go like this, it could go like that, it could go like that. The rule is pretty much it has to touch two other places. So these are territories. In these little baggies are the clans. So each colour represents the player who is the chieftain of these clans. This plaster is so loose. You can put some clans out too. I realized I got the same model, but there are a few different models, such as this guy who has a very bent spear and a cool shield. I don't know how. I hope that it's focusing. I can't tell, but there's a interesting design on his shield that you can see. So, this is one who is bowing, we always say as we play. These individual pieces are clans, and if you've played a board game like Risk before, there's a kind of similar element of territory control. In the board game world, this is typically referred to as dudes on a map, which is like the unofficial genre for this kind of game. We also have these very interestingly modeled pieces. So these are some very interestingly modeled pieces. I'm going to hold a couple up. I can't tell what the middle is. This brown one is called a sanctuary. It's like a little wood-walled community, and inside there's like a wood hall. It's a sanctuary. Maybe some of the clans gather here for feasts and such. And these grey pieces are called Citadels. This one is unique. This extra little portion here, as this is the capital. At the beginning of the game, one of the players will choose which territory holds the capital. We'll put it in the Highlands. We'll put one here just for posterity's sake. The interesting thing about the design of these grey areas is that they have enough room for one model of the clans to hide inside them. I'll explain why a little later. But there is a function to the form. So far I've just been rambling along, but I will explain the objective of this game. Players aspire to be elected as High King or Queen of this new land, and each round players will check to see if a player has been elected. To be elected, a player must fulfill the most victory conditions, and there are 3 victory conditions present. Number 1, be present in 6 or more territories. So this is a territory, this is a territory, this is a territory. Green has 2, blue has just sneakily made it to 3. Neither one of us satisfies this. Be chieftain over a combined total of 6 or more opposing clans. So, to be chieftain is to have the most clans in a single territory. And then when it says over a combined total of 6 or more opposing clans, here green is an opposing clan. So right now blue is chieftain over 1 opposing clan. But if we put more in here, it's got stuck in that little crease. Oh, actually no, it pierced through a hole. It's a very powerful spear. Now it's chieftain over 2 opposing clans. And if there were to be a 3rd player, they would now be chieftain over 3 opposing clans. That's all it means. And lastly, the 3rd objective is to be present in territories with a combined total of 6 sanctuaries. Right now there's only 1, but throughout the course of the game, more can be added, and that can be your avenue to victory. And this, I would say harp or a lyre? Lyre? I don't know how you pronounce it. Either way, in this game, this is called a deed token. Think of it as like a deed to your legitimacy as High King or Queen. You can use this to supplement one of the 3 objectives. So in this example where blue is ruling over 3 opposing clans, should the blue player miraculously get 3 deeds, they could use that to supplement that one victory condition. And if they were in this case, they could use it to supplement the 3 other territories, but they can only be used for one objective at a time. So in this situation, it would have to be towards territory. And in this situation, when they only have 2 objectives, they can only be applied towards opposing clans. It's very hard, it seems, to get these based on when we played. These purple crowns, well, I say purple, the tile is purple, but the actual crown is like silver, are pretender tokens. And this is what you use to inform the other players that you are vying for a victory condition. Without this, blue would have no claim. They have to make sure they grab one of these. It's quite trivial to get one, but it basically informs the rest of the table of your intentions. Don't mind me while I just pull things out of the box. This is called the Bren token. It's double-sided because there is a male and female Bren. The Bren is essentially the temporary leader until someone is appointed High King or Queen. They are randomly determined at the start of the game, and during each assembly phase, which I'll explain later, the title of Bren is passed to the capital territory's chieftain. So like I said, chieftain is the person with the most clans in a territory, and because this is the capital, blue would be chieftain here. I think my partner is player blue, so my partner is Bren. The Bren will organize the assembly, as it's called, which is when all the clans come together to discuss the coming year. And the Bren has advantage in the case of a tie with another player. So if the Bren and another player have an equal amount of victory conditions met, the Bren will win the game. Which can be very cheeky because between me and my partner, last game we played, the Bren won after the tie. We have 3 types of cards that take place, and handy dandy references here. So I'll give one reference to my partner, and I'll go through these 3 types of cards. Most of the gameplay itself is taken by playing these cards to initiate actions on the board. And when I say actions, these green cards are actually called action cards. And they have these fantastic card art displayed on each. I'm not sure what size I would call these cards. They're not quite tarot sized, but they are quite large. Is it a tarot size? Maybe? I don't think so. I thought tarot were like longer and narrower. Either way, I'm going to pick a card in particular to explain a concept. On each card, there are symbols in the top left that tell you the timing of when these cards are played. So here, the Tree of Life, which I guess would be Yggdrasil in Norse legends. These mean it's played during the season phase on the owner of this card's turn. So typically, on your turn, you play one season card, and you do its action. And here, that action is to draw an Epic Tale card, which is this salmon-colored deck. I don't want to say it's red, I'd say it's a pinkish red. This symbol is a Triskel. I don't know how you pronounce that, but I'm assuming it's Triskel. This isn't played in response to the conditions specified on the card. So here it tells me, after one of my maneuvers removes one or more opposing clans, gain a deed. So if I'm ever in battle and I manage to kill an enemy clan, I can write about it and sing my legends. Here's another Triskel card. Here's one type of card I want to highlight. Another type of card. And I finally want a build card. Okay. So here in the top left, there's one. Should I just take it off? I have an unfortunate little wound right there. Here in the top left, there are one of three symbols, and these icons appear on the cards to indicate their effect. So here's a build. This allows you to build one sanctuary, which is this brown little piece, in a territory where you are present, and then you also draw an Epic Tale salmon-colored card. Let's do this one next. This symbol with the plus and the little person is called Recruit. It allows you to add clans. So here, in a territory where you are present, you can place one clan, or you can choose an opponent with two or more clans in this territory and replace one of their clans with one of yours. Very cheeky. Very cheeky indeed. And last but not least, we have the move type. I'll explain that in a second, but what this allows you to do is you choose one territory. Move one or more of your clans from the chosen territory to one or more adjacent territories. I could abandon the forest and try and reinforce myself here in the highlands, but maybe not a great idea. Now this symbol of the crossed swords means clash. This icon appears on cards to indicate that playing this card may initiate a clash. I'll get to a clash in a little bit. So these green cards form the deck of action cards. And during one of the first phases of the game, there's two phases, the assembly phase and the season phase. During the assembly phase, the Bren, what? Did I say weird? Assembly phase. During the assembly phase, the Bren will take these cards, put one card aside, which we don't know about, and then deals the other cards to the other players. Let's act as if there's three players with orange, so start a deck over there. Yeah. And so, during this phase, you'll take these cards, you'll take a look at them, and you'll draft. So you maybe think, I want to do this cheeky new alliance. I'm going to keep this card. And I guess I didn't talk about it yet, because we've only played 2-player, we haven't played 3-player yet. A card based on a flock of crows dictates which order you play in this game for this round, clockwise or counterclockwise. Let's just say clockwise. And you pass the cards to the indicated position, and now you look at the current set of cards you have and choose now 2 to keep. Technically there should have been 4 cards each, etc. And so you go like this, drafting the cards and seeing what you might be passing to your neighbors, so you have an idea of what they might play as well as what you might play. I don't know what's going on here. So you end up with a hand of cards that you will play with on your turn. This yellow deck is called advantage cards. You may not be able to see it super well, but on the back there is a picture, and these pictures, that's not the right one, these pictures indicate territories. I'm going to keep going until I find one that we have out. I think this is, nope, I'm wrong again. Here we go. This picture corresponds to the Misty Lands. This is a season card based on this icon. You can discard one or more action cards, these green ones, to draw that number of epic tail cards, the salmon ones. Choose one to keep and discard the rest. To gain these advantage cards during the very beginning of the assembly phase, actually no, sorry, step 3 of the assembly phase, each player takes the advantage cards matching the territories where they are chieftain. So, looking at the board right now, blue is chieftain of the Misty Lands. I'm going to receive that card. Blue player, who seems to be doing very well in this game, is also chieftain of the Highlands. Keeps that card. Green player is chieftain of the Forest. Gets that card. These cards can vary on being season or Triskel. So you see Highlands and Forest are both Triskels, and both of their conditions are very different. After you play these cards, they'll go back out into the center of the board where the chieftain will get them next turn. So far, these green cards and these yellow cards, you won't keep them at the end of your turn. They will likely get new owners. But if you remain chieftain, you will get these yellow cards back. So you'll likely get them twice or more in a row. Okay, and the last card to talk about are the epic tales. These are all based on real Celtic legends, and they have some fantastic card art to go along with them. They typically have some very powerful effects. After all, they are epic tales. Balor's Eye. Remove one clan from any territory. My poor green guy's dead. Diamond and Grian. When one of your clans is removed, place the removed clan in a different territory where you are present. This does not initiate a clash. I think that would be legal. Remove one clan. If I had this card, I could be like, my clan survives. So these cards, the epic tales, have powerful effects. They do not leave your hand unless you play them. So you could build a stock of these for when you want to do something particularly powerful. So, during the season phase, when everyone has their cards ready and everyone has their advantage cards, each player can do one of the following 3, I wouldn't say actions, but things. You can play a season card with the tree. you can take a pretender token. Like I said before, this is what you use to indicate to the other players that you intend to try and win this turn. Or you can pass. The thing about passing is that if all players consecutively pass, the season will end, even if you have cards left over. But if I pass, and then my player here does something, when it comes back to me, I can then still choose to play. So only when everybody passes does the season end. You'll mostly see people do play a season card. That's probably the most common action. Okay, so I am now going to explain clashes, because this is probably the last factor of the game that's important. Choose one territory. Move one or more of your clans from the chosen territory into one or more adjacent territories. Okay, well, I chose the wrong territory. What I meant to do was choose this one, the forest. And I'm going to move 2 people in here. Now, because I moved in, this can start a clash. And I will be the instigator of this clash. So, the first step of a clash is to check for citadels. Players can send clans to hide in the citadels to be protected. So I mentioned earlier, this little slot, this is why it's relevant. So let's say the citadel is also in here. Actually, that's not legal. You shouldn't have done that. Because what happens is, all clans get a chance to put people in citadels because there's 3 players. The player next from the flock of crows will be across from me, blue player. Yeah, flock of crows. Oh, flock of crows. First player is blue, and they hide in one of these places. And next we'll say it's our orange player. The orange player chooses to hide too. And say if there had been a 3rd citadel, the instigator is not allowed to hide. The instigator is always going to be part of this fight. But if there had been a 3rd, the blue could have chosen to hide again. Okay, so we're done with the citadel step. And now we get to the resolution step. And in this way, it continues until the clash ends. In turn order, each player who has 1 or more exposed clans, at this point an exposed clan is any clan who's not in the citadel, will perform one of 3 types of maneuvers. The first type of maneuver is to attack. The attacked player loses either 1 exposed clan or 1 action card. So this way, if you want to stay in the fight and you have some bad cards in your hand, you could discard them to try and survive for longer. Otherwise, if you have people to spare, you could lose a clan. So, I'll leave it up to you what you want to do for the purposes of this exercise. Okay, you're going to discard. Alright, and now it'll be the next player's turn, and they might choose to withdraw. The owner moves 1 or more of their exposed clans to adjacent territories where they are the chieftain. In this example, blue is chieftain here at the Misty Lands, so they could choose to escape. And the final type of maneuver is from an Epic Tale card. Let's see if I can quickly find one. Fantastic look. When you perform an attack maneuver, which is what this is, you choose whether the attacked player removes 1 clan or discards 1 action card. So this will allow you to have a little bit of extra control, because you could say one of your clans must die and they don't get a choice. Did I have a card related to it? No. There are some of the action cards specifically related to clashes. Here we have Warlord, and the Triskel is during a clash with you involved after a maneuver is performed. All those 3 were maneuvers. Place 1 exposed clan in this territory and choose who performs the next maneuver. So here you can play a maneuver yourself, then play this card to add a new clan, and then choose yourself to perform the next maneuver again, and have a little bit more control. But that's the orange player's card. The neat thing about combat is that before each maneuver, all players with at least one exposed clan can just agree to not fight. You don't have to have a battle. And if you can talk it out and you have good reason to avoid a battle, in this scenario blue, they're going to stay in control. They don't need to fight. Orange has no say in the matter because they're hiding. And green maybe doesn't want to risk losing their new people. Maybe they want to be here just to be in the sanctuary. Maybe they want to be here to have one extra territory they're present in. They could just be like, no more fighting. Otherwise, fights continue until there are no exposed clans in the territory. I built up a bunch of breath. I had to release it. That is the gist of the game. We go through playing cards until everybody consecutively passes. We check in the assembly phase if a player has won the game, and we continue. And I have this from the expansion, which helps in games, but maybe not so much in two-player games, where we want a king, and if the Bren is not tied pretenders gain a deed. So let's say that you are not Bren and orange player is Bren, and you and I may be tied. Then flip this tile. I flipped the wrong way. It now becomes we need a king. And during the assembly phase, when we check for victory, if nobody has any victory condition, the Bren wins. The pretender having the most victory condition wins. In case of a tie, the Bren wins if tied for victory. If the Bren is not tied pretenders share victory. So this aspect of the expansion just allows for the game to not continue endlessly. There was some discussion around people who've played this game before who said that some games can last nigh indefinitely as each player stops each other from winning, and without an end game it can drag on. So this allows for there to be an end state. Also included in the expansion is the ability for a fifth player. The base game only has 4 players, and here we have a new baggie of clans, as well as additional action cards to supplement this new player. It also adds, I don't have it included here, new Epic Tales cards to keep things from getting too stale. It adds a seasons mechanism where throughout the 4 seasons during the assembly phase some things might change. I haven't played with that yet, I can't comment on it. And finally it adds a new territory type called islands, and additional segmentations called harbours that allow you to travel to islands, so it can very much change how territory is placed and played. So this expansion for islands adds new types of territory in here on the exploration card, which is the base card for adding new tiles. Draw new territory to place there. If it is an island, follow the island placement rules instead. So a card is added to the base game to account for this change. All these additions in the expansion are modular, so you can choose to play with as little or as much as you like. We've only played a few games so far of a 2-player variant, so we don't even have Mr. Orange here. But we did add this just because it actually hasn't come up, because one of us is going to be the Bren, so we don't actually even need it. But either way, I think the two of us have really enjoyed what we've done with this game and how we played it. So now I'm going to talk about a few aspects of the design which I found to be quite interesting. First up, given that this is essentially a dudes on a map game, I think that it really applies itself towards it being a much faster variant. There's no dice rolls. There's no deterministic kind of aspects to this concept of the battling. It's just you make some very simple decisions. Do I remove a clan? Do I lose a few traction? And then on my turn, do I retreat? Or do I attack back? Or do I play an epic maneuver? Epic tail maneuver. And with the Citadels here allowing for people to hide away, it can really give you the benefit of turtling to an extent, but it also creates this situation where if I have built up Citadels as the blue player, Citadels also create this interesting conundrum around turtling, because if I, as a blue player, build Citadels here to try and protect my, or I deem, my highlands, and the green player begins somehow adding more and more and more clans here, I need to fight them to get them out of here, to regain control of the highlands. Me attacking them means they get to use my Citadels, or at least I view them as mine. So, as you build up to turtle, you could be shooting yourself in the foot, or I guess an arrow to the knee for a more medieval comparison. And the cards themselves create interesting decisions because, like my very first card example, the Bard, draw an epic tail card. Those epic tail cards we don't know ahead of time. They could be good, they could be bad. Well, not bad, but maybe not beneficial to our immediate plan. Whereas after one of our maneuvers removes a clan, we gain a deed. That's essentially a victory point right there. So do I play it for the epic tail and hope for something good? Or do I hold on to it in the case that I attack or am attacked and allow myself to build towards a victory condition? My partner has used this to great effect to win the game. Those deeds can make or break your position. So the cards themselves create these conundrums you have to work through as you play. And with these sanctuaries being able to be placed creating very tantalizing positions to root for, you could present yourself as a target. Or maybe you want to focus on exploration and get yourself in 6 territories and go for victory that way. But then you might be in a prime spot to be attacked. There's lots of interesting decisions to be made from just a simple card drafting mechanic and a few little pieces on the map. The supposed playtime for this game is 60 minutes, and maybe this might change based on player count and also how new people are, but I can definitely see this as being around that time frame because the decisions to be made are fast. They can be quite clear in some cases. I have made a lot of mistakes, by all means. Maybe because I didn't think things through. But my point is that the decisions are interesting and meaningful. Me choosing in that moment to take an epic tail card could make or break my entire move. When one of your clans is removed, place the removed clan in a different territory where you are present. This does not initiate a clash. So if I am going for the territory control, blue sees me being weak and tries to kill me. I play this, and now I'm here, behind them, where these 3 sanctuaries are. And maybe I change my victory condition to be based on sanctuaries. The game is fast, it's fluid, and I think especially the clash system where you can just decide not to fight is brilliant, because combat can definitely be a detractor in a lot of games if it's too complicated, and if other players at the table who aren't involved in the combat get bored. You want the game to flow quickly. You want every player to feel involved, and me watching other players decide to turtle away and not fight is very interesting. Or watching them chip away at one another. It's quick. There's no dice rolls. There's no arguing over should I re-roll if it's on the table, etc. How many rolls do I get? What damage roll do I need to do a hit? Don't get me wrong, I like some games like that, but this is a much more casual, I guess, affair. My kitty is in his room jingling his bell. He's settling down. Like I said, it's a much more casual affair for the dudes in the map genre, with this wrinkle of the card drafting mechanic. As you begin to learn this deck, you can maybe make guesses on what other people might have. Some cards here's an interesting one. Here's another interesting one. This fantastic looking druid from, I think, the front box is a Triskel. When an opponent plays an action card, ignore the effect of the action card just played and discard it. This allows me to block someone else's move if they're doing something very powerful. Season card of another druid looking upon a fleet of ships. To play the druid, you must have in your hand at least one other or 2 other action cards. Look at the discarded action cards and add 1 to your hand. So if someone's played something you particularly like, you can get to play it. Or maybe you want to repeat an action of your own and explore twice, which I have done. There are many ways to interact with both other players and the deck. It's a very involved game. I think if you were to classify this, it would not be a Euro game, as there is very little economy to it, and it's more about action, like efficient action handling, I think, would be more of a focus here. But at the same time, I wouldn't call it a battling game. Clashes are definitely an aspect, but they are not the sole aspect of this game. They are just a factor. So yeah, I have really enjoyed playing Inish, and I highly recommend it. I feel like I would have more to explore based on larger player counts, because thus far we've only played with 2 players. Some cards here in the box for when there are 4 players and when there are 5 players. And as you can see, these are all different. Each card is different. Their effects are unique. So whenever someone plays a card, I'm invested in what they do, because in some cases like this, it can be very different to what I have in my hand. I definitely recommend this game. And I hope you found this interesting, at least to watch. Thank you, and good night, or good morning, or good day, wherever you are in the world. I don't know which way to wave. Bye.